Welcome back to the channel. I'm Jesse. You're watching Crawler Kingdom, and today I'm taking a big step, a big leap of faith, working on King Ding here and taking care of a major issue that I've been having. As you can see, we're up under the rig, which is never a good sign. So for the last couple years, I've had some intermittent issues when I'm trying to go ahead and shift from manual first into like drive 2 or from park into drive. And then lately, I've had some issues where when I'm trying to press on the gas and I'm in manual first, it's not giving me my power. It feels like it's bound up, but it's not actually bound up at the wheels. So let's have a look. This is the Nag1 slash, what is it, W5A580 slash 722.6 transmission. You'll find the same transmission in Performance Chrysler, Dodge. You'll find it in Mercedes. I've already done the valve body on this thing and replacing the conductor plate, which didn't resolve my issue. So I'm going to do something I've never done and try to rebuild the transmission. I've already gone through the labor of pulling out the rear drive line, the front drive line. I got my skids out. I even removed my exhaust. My exhaust runs behind my cross member, just underneath the transfer case, instead of out front like it does stock. So I've done everything I need to, disconnected the battery. Now, no, I'm no mechanic. I have no idea what I'm doing. I've watched some videos online. I can't even figure out yet what parts to order as far as what's traditional for this. Now, I could probably just go to Chrysler or Mercedes and get some clutches and stuff like that, but I'm wanting to upgrade it because I do drive in a manual mode a lot, and that can burn it up depending on the situation. So hopefully I don't have to rebuild this like every 3 years. Who knows? So it's time to go ahead and remove this, but you're watching this just for fun. And when I make a mistake, feel free to comment if you got a better way of doing it, because it's my first time attempting this. It's going to be a challenge. I'm actually going to go ahead and pull the transfer case first, separate, instead of pulling it as a whole unit attached to the transmission. Pull that off, and then I'm going to go ahead and figure out what I need to detach and go ahead and pull that transmission, and let's go from there. As far as I've seen, this transfer case and transmission doesn't connect via a seal. So it seems like they're self-contained on the back. It's got an output seal that goes around the output shaft, and this thing has got an input, and then there's this adapter. So I should be able to unbolt this transfer case off around these edges right here and pull it off. I'll have to disconnect this, go ahead and selector switch on that, and probably some electronics that are likely up top and a vent tube. I haven't looked yet, but they're probably up there. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a transmission jack on this and get this thing lowered and out of the way. On this, I just need to gently pry that off. Okay, it's got that capture that you'll want to have a spare of in your thing. Now this looks like I could just push on these pins and push it up to release it, but because this bracket's got to come off, I'm just going to leave this and not mess with it, and then just go ahead and loosen up these nuts that are on the other side. I have a breather vent right up here that I'm just going to slide off. Let's see if I can get it right here. And then the electrical connector, I doubt that's anything special other than the fact that you can't see it. And pull that off. Let's see what it is. Do I feel anything magical? Okay, it feels like there's just a squeeze on this end. Oh, yep, that's all it is. So push on this end, give it a little wiggle. There goes that. And then the vent tube, I'll just go ahead and push off of here, give it a little twist and push off, and that's coming off. And then I think that's all the connectors on the transfer case that needs to come off. I didn't say this is a Rubicon, by the way. So this is the 4-to-1 transfer case. I'm pretty sure it's all got the same stuff. It's just different internals. If you have like a Safari or a Sport on here. These are a 9/16. So I'm just going to loosen it up with scotch. Yep. The old wobble did it. There goes that one. Alright, I just bent that up instead of getting the Christmas tree out, because that's being a pain. Now let's see if we can get in there. Yeah. Ouch. That's it. Hand cramp. Oh. Let's see if this will get on out the way now. Yep. There we go. I remember doing this on my buddies. Maybe his was an 11 or something. I felt like there was no room up top, but I feel like there's plenty of room up top here. I ended up throwing the jack stands under here just to keep it safer, and I removed the lower control arms. And then for those of you that don't know, on my Jeep, I run a long arm that goes straight to the cross member. So if you're running a standard Jeep, you wouldn't have to deal with any of that as far as removing that, because you'd be mounted right here and right there. But because of how I did mine, there's my weld-on supports for this. Just a plug, if you're going to go ahead and mount your control arms to your cross member, use really good insurance, because you're likely going to crack these stock mounts, to go ahead and weld on these brackets. I forget who makes them, but I have a video on it. So now I'm going to go ahead and support the transmission with the trans jack. Might as well hook that up, because that's what we're going to do anyways. And then I'm going to remove this cross member, get this mount off of it as well, off of the support here for the adapter, and then I can get in here and get this bolt. I'm having to remove it because there's one bolt right underneath here, more to this driver's side, that's hanging me up. And once I get that off, I'll support this with my other jack and then get that last one off there, and then hopefully we can scoot this out of the way and start looking at the transmission. This is a 5/8, so 1, 2, 3. I'll get these removed. Now I'm just removing these lower bolts. They have 2 mounting bolts to this adapter plate, and I think these are, what are these, 16 mils? And they were, I mean, I have my extension on, but they weren't much past just tight on that. The longer side sticks out towards the back, and so the offset for the cross members in. There's 2 on the inside closer to the pan, 2 on the back side that's closer to the rear. We'll go ahead and get those removed, get this out of the way. Let's take a look at that bolt underneath that I really had to remove this for. This is where that plate was, and this is the one bolt that's on the driver's side, and then this is what's getting in your way. I could get a head on this bolt, but I couldn't twist with this. These are just sitting here in case all Hades broke loose and it decided to try to go ahead and land on my chest. These are just loosely in here to stop it from fully sliding out. From the videos I've seen, honestly, this thing's going to take some wobbling and maybe some leverage to go ahead and separate it, the input and the output shafts here. And I just aligned it. This thing's clocked. It probably is super easy to get right. Like, this is on the bottom. You know, you pick the one. This is about level. This tilts up a little bit, but down at the bottom. But I just marked it. That way, when I put it in, it's all good. We know we're right on the money as far as clocking goes. We're not a spline off or anything like that. Not that I don't think you could be, because, I mean, that rotates. So, anyways, these holes have to go in here, but I did it because I'm over obsessive. Let's go ahead and get this one loose. Looks like my Jeep's just a touch tall for... I had to put some blocks under these, but that's all I needed. And then I lifted it up. It didn't fall off. Like, I don't think you're in any danger. Well, I wasn't in any danger when I took mine off. If you do this job, you're responsible for your own health. So raise this up a little bit. Oh, don't want to do that. I'll be prying off the transfer case here. But as you can see, there's a gap now as I took the pressure off of it. So that way I can go ahead and get to pulling off of there. But I'm going to definitely use 2 hands to detach this and make sure it's solid before I get to lowering it down. But that one came off. It came a little bit loose up top. This one came off, no problemo. And then I loosened these off, but it never sucked it out. This is the most gap that we've seen. But let me go ahead and get this pulled back and we'll go from there. Oh, there we go. Okay. There's that side a little bit. And as you can see in here, there's no seal. It's just dry mated in there. So I don't think we're gonna have to deal with any kind of seal there. Just afraid this might be so front loaded it wants to fall off. That's my fear. Okay, there we go. It's all separated. Not too bad. I'm gonna go ahead and start lowering it down. There we go, and we are down. Whoa. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw the cross member back in. I don't wanna have to work all around this jack to loosen up those bolts and such. So I think I'm going to get most of those bell housing bolts loosened up. I'll put the cross member, the isolator back on, and then reevaluate and go after the transmission, getting it loose and taking off stuff. Well, it's time to start getting this transmission out. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the cover off for the electrical. And this is connected to this actual bolt holder right here, and then it just wiggles out. It goes underneath this plate right here. I'm gonna go ahead and drain this out first and get that rolling before I move on to doing anything else yet. I'll go ahead and loose up these front ones. I'm gonna take the pin off, oops, and then throw it back on before I remove it. We got the fluid out of here now. I put the cover back on, obviously to keep muck out of it. And then I gotta loosen up these lines, these in and outs. Now I'm assuming I'm gonna have to loosen them up there. I'm making all this up, I have no idea what I'm doing. But it looks like I have to crack this loose. Ooh, that's tight. Ooh, that's tight. Okay. Well, I am figuring out this. I'm making a mental note. So this is the out arrow coming out. This is the in arrow going in. And so this driver's side one goes underneath and then actually goes into the top hole of that. And that underside one is the one that comes in here real close. That's going in the end. So when I go to try to flush out that cooler, I need to pour it in the return, which looks like it's this one. So I'm going to pump fluid in the top and then have it come out of the bottom, which would be what would come back into this. Man, oh man. I just realized when I went inside to look up and order maybe a wrench to fit on this, I'm an idiot. That's not supposed to get unscrewed. These are quick disconnect and they're not intended to get unscrewed like that. So the story is, you just pop off these white caps and there's a quick release on this end here. So we'll see if we can get this back in. Yep. And then let's see if we can get you closer. Kick off the white cap and not unthread that. And then there's like a metal pin in here that I think They used a different tool that I saw, but you know, gotta do what AutoZone has. Shove that in there and wiggle it around. Either way, you just gotta get that little clip out, which I'm pretty sure you can do. This clip right here with a pick, and then just pull it out. So let me work on that. Okay, there's that side. Okay, so out comes that clip. And there we go. And I'll put that back in there. Please do not unscrew that like I did. Man, I hope that thing doesn't leak now. So that's now loose. And those are 18 mil. Disconnect those. And then we should be good. Good night. Alright, now that we got the lines all set up, now I'm taking off the bolt here to the gas line that holds them on. So this is on the rear adapter housing, and this is just the upper, not this one, the upper one is where it goes. And then the breather tube is underneath this. I'll need to remember that because I'm just going to end up flopping it around, but it's sitting underneath that and held in. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way. And this is all on the passenger side. Let's go look at the driver's side, what I need to take off. Here's the driver's side. We have the selector knob right here, which you just kind of pop off, but do that with a screwdriver. And then we got these two bolts. They're both a, I believe it's a 13. Yeah, it looks like a 13. So let's go ahead and pop this baby off. Hopefully I ain't breaking nothing. The shifter on the transfer case came off real easy. I don't know if this is going to be the same case. Of course, I'm not going to take the time to look it up, so hopefully I'm right. Yeah, this looks like a ball that pops right over, does its own thing. Now let's go ahead and take a look at these bolts. Out comes two, and then the bolts are the exact same size. And those are on the upper two holes. There's three options on this driver's side, a lower one too, and it was on these top two bolts. The electronic controls that are to the transfer case just have a couple of clips in here, one up front here that I need to go ahead and pop off so that comes off the transmission. I got the two clips undone over here for the wiring loom, and then there's a third that's on the driver's side right here that needs to come out, and then this wiring loom connects to the main transmission wire loom. So I'll need to go ahead and undo that one, and then this, and this isn't too hard at all, so let's do that on camera. Anybody who happens to be following along, just rotate that. That pulls out, and then inside here's a 7 mil bolt right down the hole. See that shiny part? You unscrew that and this wiggles out. It's time to go ahead and get the trans dipstick out. Now, I tried looking up there There is some metal bracketry up there. I don't know if this is attached to it or not. If it is, I'll have to take it off. But there's one 10mm bolt right here. I would think that that's attached up there, but really there's only one way to find out. Right up here past that electrical, there's a bolt right there that I'm going to take off, and I'm certain that's what's left attaching this dipstick tube to that. So let me go ahead and get that out of there. I pulled that bolt right up there to that bracket. It takes forever. I believe there's one more up there that I couldn't quite reach well, so I went back to the bracket right in here and ended up pulling the nut out, or the bolt out. The nut's kept in the back, so at that point it does look like you loosen that one up, you get rid of that one, you get rid of that one, and now you're loose. You do need to pop off the breather hose up here off of that so that you don't end up taking that down. But I'm pretty sure now I'll be able to wiggle and pop this fill tube out. I did this off camera, but all I did is wiggle and pull up, and yo, the filth is real. Oh, come on, don't do me too bad. Trying to push the, there we go. Okay, so now that's out, and it's just a rubber on the end of this. If I weren't rebuilding this, I would be wiser and blow some air up here and clean that up to get that off. The reason why I pulled it down like this is because I need to get that stinking Christmas tree on that other thing, and it's holding me up. It's so tight up in there. I don't think I want that back on there. So even if I can get myself a couple inches or better off. Ugh. Okay, there we go. If I can get away with it, I'll go ahead and put this up right before we put this in. Once this is out of the way, and drop this with this where it's at. I just don't want to take these off, but that might be just a bad decision. And stuff that up in here. Oh, that's too small. Next size up. That looks like that'll work. I'm gonna go over to the starter and remove that. All right, let's dig right into it. So there's two lines. Let me get this off of here. Okay, so there's an upper one that goes to a ground right here that needs to be taken off, and that's the shorter stub. And there's one that has a two-piece, one of which the short 90 gets bolted to the back of this, and then there's this red clip that, or not red, purple, that needs to be dealt with. So let's go ahead and pop that out a little. Without going too hard at it. There we go. So it's the safety. And now my battery's already all disconnected. It has been for quite some time. So let's go ahead and push down on that purple part now that it's there. Do some wiggling. Okay, there we go. There's that connector. Okay, feels like a 13. All right, I got my 1/4-inch drive. Now let's see if that fits better. Yep, much better. I went and got one of these from AutoZone. It's like, the fun part is that you can switch, and it's got this weird little thing. So it's got those sockets that set in so it's more shallow. This actually came in pretty clutch for me. Quite a bit here. And then the two bolts that hold in the transmission also hold on the starter here. So let's go ahead, and I might have to loosen up the ground before I can get that on top of it. So now I got a straight 13. So where do I need to go? Lefty loosey. There we go. There we go. Once I get the starter off, that's how you go through and loosen up your flywheel. Okay, here we go. This one has got the spinning washer on it. So the one that goes to the ground's got the spinning washer on it. The one that goes to your power is just a shoulder washer. It doesn't spin here, to differentiate. And then it actually appears there's two wires going up to this ground. So there's the one that you got two coming off of this thing. Let's get this down and out so I can show you. Okay. Dropping dust in my eyes. It's all good. So there's this layer. The straight one is on top. The other one's on bottom. I'm sure you can flip that around. That doesn't matter. And then the one that goes to the power has got this. Now I'm certain there's clips. There's one up there, a Christmas tree, that I ripped off before when I did my motor. But I'm gonna go ahead and throw the nuts back on here. Again, this one up here, hopefully I'm pointing at it. I can't see that well through the screen, but this one up here has got the spinning washer. These are the bell housing bolts, so 15. Oh, I'm tightening it. What an idiot. So once this is off, if it's an automatic, it's called something different. If it's a manual, it's called like a flywheel. I forget what the auto's called right now. Or the auto's called the flywheel and the other one's called something else. Anyways, so you can't pull that out with it. Pretty dang long bolt. Compared to the passenger side where I had to go ahead and get the, for the bracket, it's much longer. So these long ones, I don't know if they'll both be like that or the rest of them are all gonna be short, but this one, I'm certain the top one is gonna look like this for the starter. Yeah. Okay, and slide that back. Come on, big baby. Come on out of there. Alright. So for those of you who've never done a starter before, what happens is this wheel, when you go to start it, kicks out because your flywheel's riding right in here. This kicks out and engages it and spins it, just like if you're pulling a cord on your lawnmower. So those slide right into the teeth and it's facing in, so that way you'll have that. So if that's not kicking up and spinning, this baby would have been dead, but we're good. So that's pulled out. The top one was a long one. It was just two bolts. So I'll keep those separate and label those starter bolts, so that way I don't get them mixed up. But now they're on camera, so that way I have it to make sure I don't mess it up. In here, you can see the gear, and then you spin. So on the front you have your harmonic balancer. You just put a socket on that and spin that to rotate that around, so you can reach all the bolts that have that set into your actual torque converter, and that'll release that portion, so that way your torque converter doesn't stay on your motor spilling oil everywhere, because your torque converter is full of transmission fluid. All right, I got one of the bolts lined up so that way I can get to it and pull it out, and that is a 13 mil. And then I got my socket on front on the harmonic balancer bolt, which I believe is a 27. So I have to hold that in place while I go ahead and loosen that up. It's not all that tight. Of course, I have this extended. All right, there we go. Little 10.9 bolt right there. Let's go ahead and rotate this until we get the next bolt in place. There we go. Okay, we're on the driver's side, working on bell housing bolts. I'm going to get the one that's got the metal tab up here that's right above the starter. And let's compare that to the length of the passenger side one that we took off. That was by the bracket, exact same. Exact same size, and those are the exact same too. And so these are the two bolts that I said face backwards, and these are the two that had a hanger on it and a nut. That was an exhaust loop, I believe it was. So those two will be kind of uniquely different that go back here. If you have a 2012, yours might not have that. It might just be straight up regular bolts like the other side. There's our little peak plate right here on this passenger side. I forgot about that thing. Now this nut is stubby. So this bottom one that covers the peekaboo, that's a stubby little sucker right there. So that one's longer like the other ones. And this one matches the length of the full-size ones that are on all the other spots. So the only unique one as far as length has been this lower cover plate one so far. Alright, that looks like that's the same size. Obviously the one that's polished more is the one that was in the covered hole for my reference right there, but those two will be the exact same, and this is the lower passenger side. I just pulled the little rubber gummies out of the bottom here. That's in the, so you can kind of see. Let's see if you can even, I don't know that I'll be able to catch it with the old camera. Fortunately and unfortunately, I've ordered to replace this motor, and so I had to detach everything from the transmission and everything and break it away. So I was able to double check and see, and there's actually, I don't know if we can see them right here, there's two. This camera will not fit up in there. Let's see. It's your two fuel lines. Ugh. Light fell right on my face. Let's try this again. Okay, here we go. So you'll see that silver hook there, and there's two hard lines that went up in there. Let's see if I can get some lighting this way. And you have to reach up in here from underneath. You're doing the transmission. And then there's one, let's see if I can get this tip out of the way. One right here, and you push that way because there's two hooks up in here, and then there's one on the other side. So the two lines that are right here, they go up, and there's a mount right up there. Hopefully when I look this on a big screen I can see it. And then you basically squeeze them together to pop them out of that silver bracket that's right up there, and then now they're loose up there. And then there is one of the bell housing bolts is on the other side of this black bracket at the very top, both on the other sides, and they kind of have a carve in. So I'm gonna have to, there's no way I'm catching that on camera, but I'm gonna have to get up there and figure out how to get those two out. All right, guys, I gotta show you this Dr. Seuss style that I'm doing right here to get those top ones. Like, I can see the top two. I got like a mile of extensions to get to it, but it worked. That's how we're doing it. I tried the wheel well. I tried reaching around, and just the mile-long extension's it. Here is the one on the passenger upper. It had this metal thing around it. Honestly, I don't think that's necessary because I don't have anything tagged into it anymore. And then the upper bracket that was attached to this, it has to go through that. But other than that, I think we're ready to go. Let's take this one bolt off right here. Let's go ahead and get it supported. And then we should be good to start pulling. Yes, please. All right, we got that twisted. Got the plug pulled out. I started loosening that one, but I need to wrap the chain around it. So let's get that done, and then we'll finish undoing that bolt. Okay, good. Didn't bend the bolt. Okay. Okay. Go down a little bit more. Somehow, I'll take this breather off. Well, we are fully pulled out and ready to roll around. So, well, there you have it. There's pulling the transmission out of a 2012 Jeep Wrangler, a JKU otherwise known as. That's the Nag1, the W5A 580, I believe it is, or the 722.6. Stay tuned. I'm going to go ahead and be breaking this thing down here. I got it up on the desk. It's my little man. But I'll be breaking this down on the next video, tearing into it, and getting this thing rebuilt. So, catch you on the next one.